So this is a very different sort of analogy. A tossed green salad is a bit like reading the gospel.
Aha.
There's some basic ingredients in any tossed salad, but there are some key differences from one salad to another. This could be a fun way of looking at the differences between Gospels, especially between Mark and John.
Yes, that's really true, Pam. But before we look too closely at those two Gospels again, because this is the last Sunday that we are comparing them, I want us to look at all four Gospels. I want us to see the bare bones things that are in all of them. There aren't really that many, if you think about it, but let's look at some key ones. These are the really important ones. First of all, John the Baptist gives prophecy in all four Gospels. Then, Jesus gathers disciples. He teaches. He heals the paralyzed man. That's the only healing story that is in all four Gospels. He feeds 5,000 people in all four. He is anointed at Bethany in all four. He has that last week of his life where he enters triumphantly into Jerusalem in all four Gospels. He's also betrayed by Judas in all of them. He's arrested and he's brought before the Jewish council in all of them. Then he's tried by Pilate and he's chosen over Barabbas to be crucified in all four Gospels. He carries his own cross. He's crucified. He's belittled by witnesses, different witnesses in each gospel, but witnesses just the same, that he is in fact crucified. He is buried, and his resurrection is announced in all four gospels. That's the significant information we can glean from all of them.
Wow, as I look at the list, the most basic things about Jesus are in all four Gospels. From prophecy to teaching and healing, to other miraculous things, through to all the basics of his arrest, death, and resurrection. In the 60 or so years between Mark and John, these essentials have remained in all four Gospels as they were written. They must be very important.
Oh, they are. And they're really the most basic, fundamental ingredients, like the basic stuff that would go into any tossed salad. But here's the thing. We know that Mark is the gospel that provides these basic ingredients to all the gospels, and that is his way of telling these essentials. His way of telling these essentials pops up in Matthew and Luke, written 20 or 30 years later. You see those common ingredients, but they add some of their own, and yet it's still tossed salad. Do you know that there is only one story in Mark's gospel that is not told in any of the other ones? It's not picked up by any of the other gospels. Pam, you could read that from Mark 4:26 to 29.
Sure. The context for these words is from a long section of Jesus teaching with parables and about parables. And then Jesus said, "The kingdom of God is as if someone would scatter seed on the ground and would sleep and rise day and night, and the seed would sprout and grow. He does not know how. The earth produces of itself first the stalk, then the head, then the full grain in the head. But when the grain is ripe, at once he goes in with his scythe, because the harvest has come." So, Barbara, I've read this several times now, and I can see why maybe the other gospel writers didn't include this teaching. It's a hard one.
Oh, it is. It's a very
not sure I get it.
I get that too. It's a very difficult parable, and like all parables, it's meant to be interpreted. But I have to say, it is very hard to get a handle on this one, Pam. The best ideas that I have heard are that this parable suggests that we are like the one who scatters the seed. We don't really know how that grain grows, and we participate in helping it along, but it's a mystery to us what it is that happens. And we help with the harvest, but we understand ultimately this is not our own doing.
So Mark's tossed salad has just a little something extra. Well, what about John? I know he goes way beyond the basics.
Well, he really does, so much so that we really can't say John's gospel is a tossed salad at all. He leaves out so many things that are in the other gospels, holding on to the essentials that I mentioned earlier. And then he adds so much stuff that when we look at John's gospel, it's more like looking at I don't know, maybe a pasta salad. Something quite different.
So, what are those things in John's gospel that change it so much?
Well, we've been talking for the last few weeks about the overall tone of John's gospel. At the very beginning of the gospel, John declares how Jesus, the Word, was there in the very beginning before anything, before everything. He was God and he was with God. That really adds a new dimension to that gospel that does not appear in the others.
I see. Thanks for clearing that up for me, Barbara.
Oh, but wait, Pam, there's more. There's so much more that I think we as a congregation need to say that together. But wait, there's more. Every time we say something that is added to John's gospel, we're going to flash that sign and you're going to help us share. Let's try it one more time. Very good. Now for starters, John's gospel offers us the story of the wedding at Cana where Jesus turns water into wine.
Only John's gospel offers the story of the Pharisee Nicodemus coming to talk with Jesus in the middle of the night.
If you read John's gospel, you have not one, not two, my friends, but 3 trips to Jerusalem.
That's right, there is more. Only in John's gospel does Jesus raise Lazarus from the dead.
And only in John's gospel does Jesus wash feet.
And only in John's gospel does Jesus make I am statements that put him so closely on par with the God of the Hebrew Bible.
These are really big, really different, important events and actions. Yes, there is lots more, but only one more thing I think is really significant for us sitting here today. You know, in the other Gospels, Jesus talks about loving our neighbors. He commands us to do that. And he talks about loving our enemies. He commands us to do that. But only in John's Gospel does Jesus offer this particular commandment.
I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you should also love each other. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another.
So there it is. Now, that seems like it should be in every gospel, doesn't it? Because it's so important. It's become pretty foundational for us. We know that we need to show love for one another here. We know we need to extend grace and forgiveness to one another here. This is something John's community was learning as it ventured out and had to separate itself off from their Jewish brothers and sisters. They learned they really needed to care for each other, to keep the community alive and strong. And this would show others that they have something very special in Jesus and how he taught them to live.
So I guess that pretty much wraps things up.
Oh, Pam, not quite. What I want us to notice here this morning, as we compare Mark and John as we've done, is that even the key ingredients that stay present in all the Gospels and never change, this is an important thing for us to notice. Over the years, over the many years, and even to today, those key ingredients are there. But in John's Gospel, there are distinct additions. There is a distinct shift in the message of what it is that Jesus is doing for them and bringing to them in their time. So when I say, but wait, there's more, I am asking us, what is it that we know of Jesus as followers that we add to the gospel message or we emphasize in how it's expressed through us? What must we highlight? What's important now that maybe wasn't as important then? The world has changed in 2,000 years. There's a lot I want us to think about in that, but perhaps some of you have some ideas. What is it that we need to be emphasizing or adding to the gospel? Pam's got a microphone. If you have a thought about that, here's one right there. Please share it this morning.
Well, as parents in the 21st century, I think it's important that we have intergenerational relationships in church. And we have Hillview's a gift that we can spend time together with all ages and get to know them in worship and in events.
I love that, Brenda. And so this is an important thing I think she's mentioning. Church, the gospel, ranges from the smallest of children to the oldest of our adults, and we learn from each other and we work and we share together. Can you think of very many places that happens in the world? That's part of our message.
Another thing I think is really important is that we learn that this is about, we're learning that it's about love and not judgment.
Oh, that's huge. You know, Christian voices and other voices in the world are full of judgment about other people. We are really trying to demonstrate what it's like to be a community that is more about the love than the judgment. Another thought?
Yes, this community of faith is open to anyone of any background, of any orientation. That we are all welcome here. We are all part of this community of faith.
Thank you. That is an important. We do lift it up here, and it's a terribly important part of the gospel in our time, that it truly welcomes all people, no matter who you are, no matter what your background. We're trying to learn how to live into that. Any other thoughts out there this morning?
Terry, we must not be a lukewarm church. We must really be on fire for God and Jesus Christ.
Thank you. I think, you know what? Well said. We need to really live this. We need to be on fire for it. There's so many loud voices out in the world. Yes, our really sweet, loving, quiet voices can get lost if we're not loud about who we love and how we love. One over here.
I think we should acknowledge the concept that there is sin in the world, that there is evil, but that we as Christians should eschew that evil, that we should fight against it. But as Jesus taught us, we should never hate the person, we should hate the deed. Well, as Jesus died for us all, so we should be willing to forgive all, but that doesn't mean we condone the sin.
Very
we try
good.
to remove that from our lives.
We do need to name, we do need to stand up in the face of what is wrong, of what is sinful, of what is harmful. This we understand so totally also. These are the times in which you do stand up. You do stand up for what is right and loving. Thank you for that. Okay, what a fabulous sampling of some ideas of what it is to live the gospel now. We do add something. What I want to say is that Mark, as one bookend in time, and Matthew and Luke, and John, who is the last of our Gospels, they don't have the last word on what it means to follow Jesus. They honestly don't. They show us as a collection of Gospels that message shifts, that there's more, that there's different to understand. We are part of that. And we don't have the last word. We have the present word. We have to emphasize Jesus' message in new ways, asking our new questions, opening ourselves to new possibilities, recognizing there always are some. Kind of like that fresh and beautiful salad that you can add one more beautiful thing to. Whether it is a tossed green salad or a pasta salad or a fruit salad, there is always more. We are the present way the gospel is understood. What is the good news that we share? Because we are the first word of that in our time. Amen.